God is the one great employer. Thinker, planner, supervisor. Henry Ward Beecher.
God alone is true. God alone is great. Alone is God. La Boulaye.
God, from a beautiful necessity, is love. Martin Tupper.
I am athirst for God, the living God. Jean Ingelow.
Thou great first cause, least understood. Alexander Pope.
His steps are beauty, and his presence light. James Montgomery.
God is truth, and light his shadow. Plato.
God's will is the very perfection of all reason. Edward Payson.
God is the only sure foundation on which the mind can rest. Samuel I. Prime.
Fear that man who fears not God. Albad el-Kaidar.
God never made his work for man to mend. John Dryden.
God tempers the wind to the shorn lamb. Lawrence Stern.
God, who oft descends to visit men, unseen, and through their habitations walks, to mark their doings. John Milton.
The glorious author of the universe, who reigns the winds, gives the vast ocean bounds, and circumscribes the floating worlds their rounds. John Gay.
If I make the seven oceans ink, if I make the trees my pen, if I make the earth my paper, the glory of God cannot be written. Kabir.
Gul comes at last when we sink is fart hest off. Danish proverb.
God's providence is the sweet and best inheritance. Anonymous.
A photogod was never true friend to man. Edward Young.
I believe the promises of God enough to venture an eternity on them. Isaac Watts.
One on God's side is a majority. Wendell Phillips. God enters by a private door into every individual. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
God is as great in minuteness as he is in magnitude. Charles Caleb Colton.
Philosophers call God the great unknown. The great misknown would be more correct. Joseph Roux.
The great soul that sits on the throne of the universe is not, never was, and never will be, in a hurry. J.G. Holland.
The presence of God calms the soul, and gives it quiet and repose. François Fénelon.
The vision of the divine presence ever takes the form which our circumstances must require. Alexander McLaren.
Born of God, attach thyself to him, as a plant to its root, that ye may not be withered. Demophilus of Constantinople.
To be struck with his power, it is only necessary to open our eyes. Edmund Burke.
God can change the lowest to the highest. Abase the proud, and raise the humble. Horace.
The very impossibility in which I find myself. To prove that God is not, discloses to me his existence. La Bruyère.
If a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, neither can a kingdom rise without his aid. Benjamin Franklin.
An atom may wound, but God alone can heal. Madame Swetchine.
God is a circle whose center is everywhere, and its circumference nowhere. Saint Augustine.
God is tabula rasa, on which nothing more stands written. Tan wat dauda fast inscribed thereof. Luther.
God is better served in resisting a temptation to evil than in many formal prayers. William Penn.
God is kind to folk and Burns, Scotch proverb.
God is the great composer. Ménard only the performer. Balzac.
God never imposes a duty without giving the time to do it. John Ruskin.
God sent Smith and the devil sent Hooks. Italian proverb.
God's way of making worlds is to make them make themselves. Henry Drummond.
God the first garden made, and the first city, Cain. Abraham Cowley.
God and nature met in light. Lord Tennyson.
That we devote ourselves to God is seen in living just as though no God there were. Robert Browning. There is no God but God. To prayer, lo, God is great. Lord Byron.
Henceforth the majesty of God revere. Fear him and you have nothing else to fear. James Fordyce.
From thee, great God, we spring, to thee we tend. Path, motive, guide, original, and end. Samuel Johnson.
For God rewards good deeds done here below. Rewards them here. Lessing.
Too wise to be mistaken still. Too good to be unkind. Samuel Medley.
There is a God within us, and we glow when he stirs us. Alford.
The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Psalms 19:1.
Nothing is void of God, he himself fills his work. Seneca.
God helps those who help themselves. Algernon Sidney.
God, the great giver, can open the whole universe to our gaze, in the narrow space of a single lane. Rabindranath Tagore.
God is, and all is well. John Greenleaf Whittier.
Against God's wrath no castle is thunderproof. Anonymous.
Everyone is as God made him, and very often worse. Don Quixote.
God extends from eternity to eternity. Aristotle.
God looks to pure hands, not full ones. Publius Cyrus.
It is impossible to do anything against the will of God. Hannibal.
Man proposes, and God disposes. Ludovico Ariosto.
Without knowledge of self there is no knowledge of God. John Calvin.
A man who recognizes no God is probably placing an inordinate value on himself. Robertson Davis.
Mathematics is the language in which God wrote the universe. Galileo Galilei.
My God speaks to me through laws. Albert Einstein.
What God will, no frost can kill. Anonymous.
We are all meant to be mothers of God. For God is always needing to be born. Meister Eckhart.
God, the freedom that allows other freedoms to exist. John Fowles.
Give according to your means, or God will make your means according to your giving. John Hall.
The knowledge of God is received in divine silence. Saint John of the Cross.
As truly as God is our Father, so truly is God our Mother. Julian of Norwich.
Man is born broken. He lives by mending. The grace of God is glue. Eugene O'Neill.
A year spent in artificial intelligence is enough to make one believe in God. Alan Perlis.
God is clout. This is the prime force. When we look around the universe. Gene Roddenberry.
If you want to prove that God is not dead, first prove that man is alive. Rod Serling.
From the all human actions take their springs. The rise of empires, and the fall of kings. Samuel Boyce.
To become God, to be human, to cultivate oneself. Are all expressions that mean the same thing. Friedrich Schlegel.
We are all writing God's poem. And Sexton.
God shall be my hope, my stay, my guide and lantern to my feet. William Shakespeare.
Whatsoever is in God, and without God nothing can be, or be conceived. Baruch Spinoza.
I fear no foe with thee at hand to bless. Hills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Henry Francis Lyte.
I believe in God, only I spell it nature. Frank Lloyd Wright.
It is the final proof of God's omnipotence, that he need not exist in order to save us. Peter de Vries.
If God helps you, there is none that can overcome you. And if he forsakes you, who is there that can help you? Sarat al-Imran.
He is whatever you see, he is wherever you move. Lucan.
If God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. Voltaire.
God is the reason of those who have no reason. Ernest Renan.